Hello everybody and welcome back to LELB Society. I'm Dr. Hariri, and this time I'm going to give a lecture on humanistic education under the title of Learner-Centered Curriculum for Humanistic Learning. And I'm going to share with you the link to this article so that you could study that in more depth. And as you can see, the author is me, that is Dr. Mohammad Hossein Hariri, and also I'm going to show you how to cite this article if you want to use it as one of their resources or references. Okay, the abstract. A language curriculum needs to consider the learner's needs and interests. This is only in this way that the learners can develop an active role and do their best in the process of language learning. This study is aimed at shedding some light on the significance of humanizing language curriculum with a particular emphasis on learner-centered curriculum. Throughout the study, it became clear that a learner-centered curriculum can increase the level of autonomy on the part of the learners so that they are centralized as opposed to being marginalized in a language mastery. This is to say that they can take charge in their own learning through active participation. In fact, after the implementation of needs analysis and critical pedagogy in a negotiated manner between the teacher and the learners, an optimum level of intrinsic motivation is engendered in the learners to do away with student enslavement and replace it with learner-centeredness. So, learner-centered curriculum. Rogers, 1951, as cited in Brown, 2000. Humanistic psychology, under the title of client-centered therapy, because he was a psychologist, has more of an active focus than a cognitive one, and is said to fall into the perspective of a constructivist view of learning. Also, if you want to have more information about constructivism in education, you could just click on this link. According to Olafsson, no date, as cited in Hook, Kurtz, and Todorovich, 1975, quote, "In one sense, what humanism has to tell us about ourselves, that we are capable of discourse, that we stand in a certain relation to our past and to our future, that we are social and moral beings, and as such capable of choice and action, is nothing new, for these are all features of our common sense conception of ourselves." Page 59. Noonan, 1999, defines humanism as, quote, "The philosophical approach known as humanism has found expression in education in approaches that place the experiences and feelings of the student at the center of the learning process. It then provides the philosophical underpinning for learner-centered approaches to second language learning and teaching." Page 308. Humanistic education seeks to teach both the intellectual and the emotional dimensions of the students. Moskowitz, 1981. In this article, it has been attempted to deliberate on the significance of humanized language curriculum with a special emphasis on learner-centered curriculum. According to Williams and Burden, 1997, quote, "Humanistic approaches emphasize the importance of the inner world of the learner and place the individual's thoughts, feelings, and emotions at the forefront of all humans' development." End quote, page 30. Humanizing language curriculum. The best introduction to humanistic learning within language education is Stevik, 1997, as cited in Noonan, 2003. He believes that particular classroom techniques matter less than establishing the right emotional climate for the learners. According to Stevik 1990, among different language methods and approaches, community language learning, or CLL, seeks to be the very epitome of humanistic education. In fact, current CLL, community language learning, is basically concerned with students' personal feelings, social relations, self-actualization, and the realization of intellectual potential. According to Curran 1972, as cited in Larson Freeman 2000, quote, "A language counselor does not mean someone trained in psychology. It means someone who is a skillful undertaker of the struggle students face as they attempt to internalize another language." End quote, page 89. As Noonan 1988 has stated, criticism of early needs analysis work resulted in a change of emphasis with a greater focus on the collection and implementation of subjective information in syllabus design. This shift of emphasis reflected a trend toward a more humanistic approach to education. In this response, Noonan 1988 maintains, quote, "Humanistic education is based on the belief that learners should have a say in what they should be learning and how they should learn it, and reflects the notion that education should be concerned with the development of autonomy in the learner." Page 20. Ellis, 2003, has elaborated on the humanistic principles of education in this way, quote, "Humanistic principles of education emphasize the achievement of a student's full potential for growth by acknowledging the importance of the affective dimension in learning as well as the cognitive. Humanistic approaches encourage learners to recognize their feelings and put them to use by caring for and sharing with others, thereby increasing their own self-esteem and motivation to learn." Page 31. One of the humanistic education models is the Humanities Curriculum Project. According to Stenhouse, 1971, the Humanities Curriculum Project has been exploring the problems of teaching in the area of controversial issues through producing appropriate teaching materials and experimented methods based on the students' needs and wants. Stenhouse's Humanities Curriculum Project 1967 to 72, as cited in Burns 1999, had a major impact on the acceptability of action research as well as on the development of the concept of the teacher as the researcher. Learner-centeredness. Learner-centered curriculum, according to Richards 2001, stresses the individual's needs and learners, the role of individual experience, and the need to develop awareness, self-reflection, critical thinking, learner strategies, and other qualities and skills that are considered to be significant for learners to develop. Graves 2000 defines learner-centered curriculum as, quote, "Development of a community of learners who support each other's learning process. Emphasis on cooperation in place of competition, student participation in course content process and assessment, use of feedback as a means of course evaluation." Page 44. Marsh 1986, page 2001, points out that the issue of learner-centered curricula reappears every decade or so and can refer to any of the following: learning through practical operation or doing, laissez-faire, that is, no organized curricula at all, but based on the momentary interests of the learners. Individualized teaching and learning, creative self-expressions by students, practically oriented activities directed toward the needs of society, and also a collective term that refers to the rejection of teaching-directed learning. According to Brown 2007, learner-centered instruction includes techniques that focus on or account for learners' needs, styles, and goals. Techniques that give more control to the students, group work or strategy training, for example. Curricula that include the consultation and input of students and that do not presuppose objectives in advance, and techniques that allow for students' creativity and innovation. Techniques that enhance a students' sense of competence and self-worth, page 52. Breen and Littlejohn 2000 proposed that a process syllabus should be put to use with the intention of implementing a learner-centered curriculum for a variety of reasons, including 1. It transfers part of the responsibility for the design of the course onto the learner. 2. It provides a mechanism for meeting different needs of diverse students within the same overall class structure. 3. It helps students to develop the skills they need to continue learning on their own after the course is finished. Page 220. McLaren 2004 believes that in a learner-centered curriculum, the students are considered the center of the teaching and learning process. Consequently, the communicative situations proposed must satisfy their needs and interests and should be related to their personal experiences. Thus, connections are established between what is taught and the linguistic and sociolinguistic knowledge that the students already possess. A series of interventions conducted by Moskowitz 1981 and 1999 as cited in Rossiter 2003 with high school second and foreign language students reported positive correlations between the use of humanistic exercises and students' attitudes toward language learning, their classmates, and also themselves. Noonan and Lamb, no date, as cited in Hall and Hewings 2001, believe that language programs should have twin goals, language content goals and also learning process goals. If these two goals are achieved, we can claim that the program is characterized as being learner-centered. Clark, 1989, as cited in Harwood 2010 or 2010, suggests that a learner-centered curriculum can be fostered by getting learners to adapt materials for their own or other classes. This will lead to enhanced interests on the part of the learners as a shift in their roles from language receiver to collaborator, from assimilator to knower. End quote, page 135. Since through adapting and designing new tasks, learners become experts in those areas and are then able to transmit their knowledge to others. In a learner-centered curriculum, information by and about learners is built into every stage of the curriculum process, including planning, implementation, and evaluation, which per se requires the adoption of new roles by all those involved in curriculum processes, but particularly on the part of teacher and learners. Noonan, 1989. Curriculum planners who wish to provide a learner-centered curriculum will devise processes for systematically revising the curriculum through regular monitoring and evaluation, This process might include frequent surveys of students and staff opinions, analysis of test scores, and review of instructional materials. Idlot, 1995. Negotiated curriculum. The negotiated syllabus derives maturely from a confluence of four important overlapping streams of applied linguistics and educational thinking. These being 1. The largely North American experimentation with a variety of humanistic methodologies for an ESL environment. For example, Curran 1972, Stevick 1976, and 2. The British EFL emphasis upon needs analysis as the basis for a national or communicative syllabus with specific purposes in mind. For example, Rich-Terrick 1972, Richtrik and Chancellor, I don't know how to pronounce these names, sorry about that, 1977 and 1980, and Monby 1978, and 3. The general increase in research into issues related to learner individualization and autonomy. For example, Altman 1972, Disick 1975, and 4. The closely related investigations into the nature of learner strategies in the language learning process. For example, Neyman and Frohlich, Stern and Todesco 1978, and Cantlin and Murphy 1977, Wenden and Robin 1987, as cited in Clark 1991. According to Nation and McAllister 2010, parts of the curriculum design can be negotiated between the teacher and the learners. This may include negotiation of classroom activities, some of the goals of the course, and some assessment procedures. This negotiation is a kind of evaluation with immediate effects on the course. Clark 1991 sees the interest in negotiated syllabuses or syllabi arising from humanistic methodologies like community language learning, which are very learner-centered, from needs analysis, which focuses on learners' needs, from work in individualization and learner autonomy, and from learner strategy research, which sees the learner playing a central role in determining how the language is learned. These are clearly strong reasons for having a negotiated syllabus. A functional notional curriculum as a humanistic approach has taken cognizance of the basic needs of all human beings. It makes provision for teaching the appropriate language needed at the 5 levels of human needs recognized by most psychologists, such as Abraham Maslow's 1970, as cited in Finocchiaro and Bramit 1983, beginning with the need for survival to the most elevated needs of man, that is the need for self-actualization, which is located on top of the pyramid of needs, actually hierarchy of needs principle. As you can see here, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and also there are some good materials at the LELB Society, and also I think 1 or 2 lectures given by our students. As a matter of fact, negotiated curriculum ought to be conducted through a more explicit exploration of cross-cultural issues and greater learner involvement in decision-making concerning their learning. Willis and Willis, 1996. Teachers wishing to humanize the classroom experience are supposed to treat students as individuals, patiently encourage self-expression, seriously listen to learner response, provide opportunities for learning by doing, and make learning meaningful to students in the here and now. Eyring, no date, as cited in Cells Murcia, 2001. Learner autonomy. According to Moskowitz, 1981, by dint of personalized communication techniques, students are provided with ample opportunities to learn about themselves and their classmates. During this process of sharing, students would be motivated to participate and would develop understanding and acceptance of their classmates, thus increasing their cohesiveness and their attitudes toward learning the target language. In terms of learner autonomy and preferences, Lightbound and Spada 2006 argue when learners express a preference for seeing something written or spending more time in a language laboratory, we should not assume that their ways of working are wrong, even if they seem to be in conflict with the pedagogical approach we have adopted. Instead, we should encourage learners to use all means available to them. Page 59. Hollick, 1987, as cited in Cook 2008, states, quote, learners gradually replace the belief that they are consumers of language courses with the belief that they can be producers of their own learning program and that this is their right. Needs analysis. Among various learner-centered methods, needs analysis has deliberately introduced what are called affective humanistic activities involving the learner's wants, needs, feelings, and emotions. Kumaravadi-Velo, 2006. Needs analysis is viewed from 3 different perspectives. 1, language proficiency. 2, psychological or humanistic. And 3, specific purpose. Brindley, 1989, as cited in Johnson, 1989. The psychological humanistic perspective emphasizes learners' affective and psychological needs, which are seen as a gap between a current and a desired psychological state of confidence, motivation, and awareness. Humanistic psychology, according to Patterson, 1977, is a concept that, quote, focuses upon the experiencing person and his distinctively human qualities, choices, creativity, valuation, dignity, worth, and the development of human potential. Critical humanism. Critical humanism is an educational philosophy through which many teaching strategies have been successfully developed. In this response, Nemirov, 1992, maintains, quote, its inherent respect for individuals' expertise regarding their own lives should guarantee that all learners will respond to its challenge with honest reflection and that they receive support in this process. End quote, page 192. Humanizing coursebooks. Tomlinson, 2003, criticizes current coursebooks for solely concentrating the linguistic and analytical aspects of language learning and failing to tap the human being's potential for multi-dimensional processing. That is, they make insufficient use of the learner's ability to learn through doing things physically, to learn through feeling emotion, and to learn through experiencing things in the mind. They don't acknowledge that for human beings, the most important factor in learning is affect. Arnold, 1992, Schumann, 1999, as cited in Tomlinson, 2003. In order to achieve effective and durable learning, language learners need to relax, feel at ease, develop self-confidence and self-esteem, develop positive attitudes toward their learning experience, and be involved intellectually, aesthetically, and emotionally. Tomlinson, 1998. they also need to make use of their experience of life, their interests and enthusiasms, their views, attitudes, and feelings, and above all, their capacity to make meaningful connections in their minds. According to McIntyre and Gardner, 1991, as cited in Hedge, 2000, teachers have both the power and also responsibility to counter the development of anxiety and stress by building self-confidence through positive early experiences, which is the greatest cause of anxiety, providing reassuring feedback and also promoting self-perception of developing proficiency. There is at present a growing recognition of the central role that feelings play in the learning process. Course books can involve the whole person by including activities and texts that connect to the students' experiences, opinions, and feelings, i.e. by humanizing them. Tomlinson, 2001, as cited in Tomlinson, 2008. Some criticism. Moral perfection may be necessary for intellectual perfection, but too much attention to it can also come into tension with contemplation. Stern, no date as cited in Rotary, 1998. In terms of the distinction between learning-centered and learner-centered approaches, Hutchinson and Waters, 1987, argue, quote, the learners will certainly determine their own route to the target and the speed at which they travel the route, but that does not make the target unimportant. In the learning process, then, there is more than just the learner to consider, and for this reason, we would reject the term a learner-centered approach in favor of a learning-centered approach to indicate that the concern is to maximize learning. The learner is just one factor to consider in their learning process, but not the only one. Thus, the term learner-centered would, for our purpose, be misleading. End quote, page 72. It is important to note that a process curriculum, as discussed earlier, is rather elusive to achieve because the demands it makes on teacher competence are huge. Furthermore, assessment is difficult given the aspects of predetermined outcomes. Finally, Hertz, 1975, as cited in White, 1988, argues that it is still concerned with needs, with ends, and also even if they are not specified in a behavioral manner. A large number of studies show a weak relationship between learners' beliefs and their proficiency level. According to Ellis, 2008, quote, when learners hold a particular belief, there is no guarantee that they will act on it. End quote, page 703. However, according to Horwitz, 1985, 1987, and 88, as cited in Dornier, 2005, there is a certain amount of stability about learners' beliefs that would justify their classification as ID variables in this response. Horwitz, 1999, declares, quote, understanding learner beliefs about language learning is essential to understanding learner strategies and planning appropriate language instruction. End quote, page 557. In terms of teachers' failure in understanding learners, Stevick, 1996, as cited in Arnold, 1998, states, quote, alongside linguistic meanings are personal meanings, how the activity relates to each learner's immediate purposes, overall objectives, loyalties, self-image, and emotions, and the like. End quote, page 253. Conclusion. On the significance of humanizing language curriculum, Widdowson 2003 believes, quote, teaching should not proactively direct the learning process, but should reactively respond to it. In this view, it is not now teacher authority, but learner autonomy. That is the essential determining factor in deciding what should go on in classroom. End quote, pages 142 to 143. For Stevick, 1980, as cited in GAD 1998, humanism is based on the desire of every student and every teacher to be an object of primacy in a world of meaningful action. He therefore believes that it is essential for teachers to take into serious consideration what goes on inside and between their students. He advises teachers to get to know their students' psychology, treating each of them as an ordinary person or cordial, interested fellow human being, since by doing so, they will learn about their students' attitudes to learning and also would be able to modify their teaching appropriately. Okay, now that we come to the end of this narration or lecture, I just show you the sources that I have used in the references section. And if you visit the actual article on our website at LELB.net, you have access to these sources, this reference section. Okay. More than 30, maybe more than 40. Yeah, more than 40 to be exact. 47 sources I've used. And this is the way you can cite this article. And as you can see here, this is the author box indicating that I'm the author of this article. And you can see some data about this article, which falls into the category of TESOL issues through CAL, computer-assisted language learning, and also some keywords: autonomy, curriculum, education, humanism, humanity, learner autonomy, learner-centeredness, motivation, negotiation, philosophy, psychology, and syllabus. And let me show you some related lessons. IELTS writing task 1 on graph on age of students plus analysis. Psycholinguistic models in second language learning. And also teaching writing skills with 10 best practices and video. Alright, thank you so much for your attention, and hope to see you soon in our next video or lecture. Bye bye everybody.